Another question from Anne. Can you talk about client motivation? Client motivation. I think I've already mentioned, the two kinds of motivation, or three kinds of motivation. One is moving away from something, one is moving towards something, and ideally moving away and towards both, using both. Because if there's like a strong desire to not do something, and an equally strong desire to do something else new as an alternative, that's perfect, because you've got motivation on both sides, if you like. But if it's just a motivation to quit something, but no motivation to go anywhere else and do anything else, you've only got 50% of the motivation on board. Likewise, you've got motivation to move ahead and do something different, but not deal with something that's a problem behind. Again, only 50% of the motivation. So ideally, you need both kinds of motivation to get somebody moving. It's a huge subject, motivation, because without motivation, it's often difficult to get therapy to be successful. The client has to want to do something. If a smoker is sent to you by their GP, by their medical doctor, and they don't want to be there, it's the doctor who wants them to quit smoking, not them. You're going to have a problem with that. You have to have client motivation, and to achieve that, you might have to do some kind of teaching, basically, address their beliefs about why it's still okay to smoke. Other thing is, how do you motivate them to stay in hypnosis, to stay in therapy? Well, I think I mentioned this last time as well, is what you need to do is give them some kind of result, however small, in terms of some kind of change or improvement every time they come, or some experience which tells them, oh, I'm in the right place, I'm going to stick with this. So really, client motivation is very, very important here. What else can I say about that? In terms of Erickson, I think he was such a compelling person to listen to, that people were highly motivated to follow what he said. You need to have the ability to convince people that they are doing the right thing when they're with you. So all of your abilities and skills to persuade them that you can help them. I don't mean by boasting, but implying things, but maybe giving case studies, etc., like this. It's going to help their motivation to stay with you. And one important thing I found a long time ago, it still applies today, because the Ericksonians amongst us are still in the minority when it comes to hypnotherapists. And that's an advantage really for us, because, many times I've had people come to me who have been to see other therapists, hypnotherapists, who are very direct, and they've come saying that it didn't work. And immediately I've thought, well, what did they do? And when I checked it out, they've been very direct. I thought, well, this is easy for me now, because I just have to do whatever they didn't do, not do what they did, because they've failed every time, these clients failed every time with them, and do something different, something completely different. And being Ericksonian, of course, that's very different from the direct approach. So the motivation then from the client comes from their realizing that they're going into hypnosis and not quite knowing how it happens. So they're going in, I'm not doing any of the typical direct inductions. In fact, I might just be talking to their hand. I might be talking to an invisible person who's not even there, and asking that invisible person to hypnotize them. Things like this. They have no part of their experience that can say, oh, this is ABC, I understand this. It's something so different and new that they can't sabotage it, because they haven't got any frame of reference for it. So they then become motivated to stick with you and go through the therapy, because they know that you are different. You're doing something differently from everyone else they've seen, and things are happening and changes are starting to occur. So I think it's another way of increasing motivation is to just be an Ericksonian with them. And I was talking to someone recently, and one of my students who I've been seeing for some mentoring work, and he has some wonderful skills. He's very good at not doing anything. Extremely skilled with not doing anything. But he came to me with that as a worry, as a complaint, by saying, well, they go into trance and I don't know what to do. And I said, well, that's wonderful. Because, Ericksonian hypnotherapy isn't about you forcing your technique on somebody. It's not a counseling context where you're offering advice. It's really evoking the unconscious mind to do the problem solving. And the fact that you say you don't know what to do is actually a wonderful skill, a wonderful resource. And I recommend that you just pass it back to the unconscious. And you can say, like, I'm curious about what your unconscious mind can do to help you achieve this. Why don't you just wait and see what's happening? Then you just shut up, So here, this is interesting, isn't it? So we've got one of my students is now going to be doing this. Okay, practicing being who he is already, but doing more of it, not less of it, more of it. And so when you have a client who doesn't understand this concept, it's so new to them. They want to hang on, they want to feel it, they want to experience it, and because of the nature of it is, they're going to go into trance anyway. They're going to go into it and find some resources. You're nudging them. You become the observer of change, and you're nudging them.